Hey, it's Danny from ProjectManaverse.com, and in this video I'm going to share with you the 7 sins of project managers. So let's get started. So these 7 things, they are things that us project managers sometimes neglect to do, and we're all guilty of it, and there's various reasons why we neglect them, but usually it's because we're caught up in the urgent work and we deprioritize the important work that is not so urgent. And that's where these 7 sins come into it. So I'll go through each one and I'll give you a bit of background. So the first sin is we don't update our project plans. And again, we're all guilty of this sometimes. And the more detailed and complex your plan is, the easier it is to neglect because it's hard work. It takes a bit of time to constantly keep on top of your project plan and make sure it's all updated. But we all do it sometimes, but you don't want to fall into that trap. You want to always make sure your project plan is up to date because it is so important for the success of the project. I tend to use a plan on a page rather than a detailed plan. Sometimes I'll start with a detailed plan to extract a plan on a page from that, because a plan on a page is so much easier to maintain and stay on top of, and it's easier to communicate the deliverables to other people on the project as well. Sometimes you have to maintain a detailed plan because the project is so complex with so many moving parts and you are responsible for everything. But if you do that, you just want to make sure you maintain it and don't fall behind. So that's sin number 1. Sin number 2 is we don't write up meeting minutes. And we should always do this, but sometimes we just don't have time or we forget. And it's really important because if you neglect to do it and you think, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, I don't have time today, when tomorrow comes round, you may have forgotten some key information, and that's really frustrating because you have to go out and ask people what was said, and it's a little bit embarrassing on your part. It is a bit easier these days with AI. If you use something called Copilot, that's a brilliant tool. It summarizes meeting minutes all for you, so you can just use that. But I do recommend trying to do it yourself, just the high-level bullet points, because it gets you thinking about what was said and ensures that you're paying attention in the meeting and you're not slacking off and just letting the AI take care of everything. So that's sin number 2. Sin number 3 is that we don't get all the sign-offs or approvals for key documents or processes or steps in the project that we should be getting. That's really important because if you don't get them and down the line there's a problem because things weren't signed off or approved properly, then you can be in trouble. And there's a reason for people approving and governing and signing off documents, and that reason is to protect the project and control the project. So sometimes it's tempting to cut corners and not get all the approvals you need on certain documents because you just want to push ahead, but that can really come back and bite you in the arse. So I do recommend that you always are disciplined with ensuring you're getting all the required sign-offs for the particular deliverable that you're working on. So that's sin number 3. Sin number 4 is we don't proactively mitigate our risks. So risks and issues management is a fundamental part of any project manager's responsibilities. And we're all very good at capturing risks in a log and then updating the commentary from time to time. But I see a lot of project managers falling short when it comes to proactively trying to mitigate those risks. So we're trying to stop those risks from actually happening. Really getting together with your team and looking at the risks and thinking, right, if we had to, how could we stop these risks from actually happening? And putting a plan together to do that, and then making sure that plan is executed, staying on top of the actions until everything is closed out and the risk is closed down. So that's sin number 4. Sin number 5 is we don't say thank you enough. So keeping the morale and the spirits of your team high is a really important part of a project manager's overall responsibilities, because a motivated, happy team is such a high leverage piece of the puzzle, I suppose, to ensuring a successful project. So you want to keep your team happy, keep them motivated, because if you do that, your chances of success increase massively. And an easy way to do that is just to say thank you for small things, big things, but make sure you're regularly saying thank you for things that your team have done, especially if they've done something well or delivered against a challenging timeline. Just keep saying thank you individually and calling it out on different forums, or if there's any kind of special company vehicle that you can use to formally and widely acknowledge the good work that team member has done. I recommend using that from time to time as well. But it's a simple thing to do. We often are so obsessed with getting the plan delivered and resolving issues that we forget to stop and just look back at what we've done and say thank you to the team. So make sure you're doing that. The next sin, number 6, is we don't convey a sense of urgency enough to our team. And this is a really important secret ingredient of a successful project and a really good project manager, is always conveying that sense of urgency, that sense of we've got to move forward, we've got to push, and we really need to keep our foot on the gas to deliver this and not slip in any of our milestones, and just keep that pressure on. And you do that in many ways, but one way is just your sense of communication, not your sense of communication, your actual communication style with the team, your body language, how often you look at the plan and refer to the milestones and look ahead and think, right, do we have everything in place to make sure that happens? Have we got all the prerequisites done? Chasing up people, applying a layer of pressure to that team so they always know that there's a sense of urgency around what you're doing. Without that, things can easily drift because people feel there's no consequence to not getting things done on time. So you really need to keep that on, and we're all sometimes guilty of that. And I think that happens more when you've been in the game a long time. You get complacent as a project manager when you're just getting started. Not even when you're just getting started, when you're kind of peaking in your career and you really get project management and you really are passionate, that's when you can apply the urgency. But the longer you've been in the game, sometimes we can neglect that part of the whole piece of the puzzle and let things go a little bit slack, which we don't want to do. Okay, the last one is we don't keep our documents organized and tidy. A very, very easy thing to let happen. Sometimes you'll have various locations for all your deliverables and documents, but you don't want that. You want to keep them in one place. You want to keep a nice tidy file structure. So if you need something, you can just refer to it straight away. They're all in one place. It's very easy and intuitive to find the document you're looking for. You can break it up into sections and maybe by project phase and then go a level deeper to all the deliverables. But you want to make sure that it's all tidy and in one place, because that will save you time down the line. You don't want to be messing around trying to find documents or losing documents or having to redo documents. That is the worst case scenario. So make sure you are being organized. Okay, those are the 7 sins. So hopefully that was useful. In summary, I think that we neglect to do these things because they are important, but they're not urgent. If you've seen that matrix before, the urgent versus important whole scenario, we tend to focus on the urgent things, or the urgent and important things are the highest priority. But the things that are just important but not necessarily urgent, they tend to fall by the wayside. But we need to be disciplined, because if you don't do these things, they can really impact your project and impact you as a project manager in a negative way. You will find life much more difficult. You'll have a lot more problems. You'll be wasting a lot more time. There's a saying that says life is easy if you live it the hard way, the hard way being disciplined with these habits, but life is hard if you live it the easy way, and the easy way is not being disciplined with these habits, letting them slide and just opening up your laptop and just responding and reacting. You want to stay on top of things and make sure you're being very strict with your habits and keeping on top of these, countering these sins. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button, and until the next time, please take care.